Hey everybody, it's me, Timmy Flyersguy, and welcome to another edition of the Timmy Flyersguy podcast. This episode is being recorded on Monday, and it will go up on Wednesday. And I'll explain why in a few seconds. I also want to explain that I didn't want to do an intro or an outro to this video, because this is a very serious video. I wanted to not have an outro. So, an intro. I didn't want to have an intro or an outro. So today's episode, I will reflect on the events of September 11th, 2001. I've already talked about what happened that day. I already talked about where I was on 9/11 and what I was doing on 9/11, but I want to talk to what happened leading up to September 11th. At the time, I started my first year of high school, 9th grade, and the first week went really well. Everything was going good. Then we get into the second week of my of 9th grade. And the day before September 11th, September 10th, I remember getting home from school, and, I remember the weekend before that. The weekend before that, I went outside, hung out with my friends, like I usually do. And that day I came home, watched a little TV, had dinner, watched some TV at night, and little did I know, the night after, I just felt like all the good things that were going on, I had this feeling in the back of my head that something wasn't right. I had this bad omen on my mind, and I know this sounds strange, but it's like I could sense something was going to go wrong, something was going to happen the next day. So that weekend I was feeling okay that weekend, but I just had an omen, just a bad omen, and after September 10th, I went to bed, and I got up on September 11th, 2001. Beautiful day outside, the sun was shining, the birds were singing, but little did I know, this was going to be the day that changed our lives forever. All of our lives, not just mine, but everyone's lives forever. And many hours later, when that day happened, I had an uneasy feeling all day that day. And when I got home and saw my brother and my sister-in-law and my whole family watching what transpired on that day, it really made me feel uneasy the whole day. I still watched TV. Unfortunately, there was nothing good on me. Only thing that was on was Cartoon Network. So I switched to that. I was watching Dragon Ball at the time, and Dragon Ball Z, and I remember watching Cartoon Network, and a message came up on the screen. Due to the events of today, our hearts go out to the people of New York City, and this was a tough day, and it was just an uneasy day for all of us. And we were all in my mom's room together watching what transpired on the TV. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I tried watching a movie that night. It was The Professional with Jean Reno and Natalie Portman. And I couldn't watch that because it was in New York, and it kind of reminded me of what just happened, like many hours ago. What just happened in the morning of September 11th, 8:46 p.m. when the first tower was hit, and there were a lot of explosions, and that just reminded me of the events that just transpired. That night, couldn't find much on TV. Every channel was the same thing. Every channel was the same thing. It was a sad night to really watch TV. And many hours before that, at dinner time, I didn't really feel, I wasn't really that hungry. I had an uneasy feeling. And my dad, I can remember my dad. And I remember the look he had on his face. He went outside to go for a walk for a little bit just to clear his head from everything that happened. And my dad he was very quiet that day. He didn't really say much. He didn't really say much that day. My mom was quiet too. And I just, even though I was still a teenager and things like this didn't really affect me too much, but this is weird. Because years later, I started feeling the effects of what happened, and years later I felt the effects, and I kept thinking about this uneasy feeling that I had. And I remember that day. I got up in the morning. I watched Good Morning America. I went to school. I didn't know something like this was going to happen. None of us did. None of us knew knew what was coming. None of us. And when it happened, we all had an uneasy feeling. Every single one of us. Every single one of us. I can remember not sleeping well that night. I couldn't sleep. I was scared. I was afraid. And before I went to sleep, I remember my mom and my dad telling me that, look, you can't live your life in fear. I know what happened was scary today, I know that. But you cannot live your life in fear. You cannot be afraid of terrorists. They do this stuff to scare people because they're bullies. That's what they do. So my dad told me they do it. They like to scare people into thinking it's the end. They like to scare people and get people not thinking straight. And that day I remember I went into my room, played Sega Dreamcast for a little bit. I was playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And when I went to bed, there was nothing on TV. I tried watching The Professional, but I just couldn't watch the whole movie. I kept flicking the channels to see if the people that were buried under the rubble on 9/11 got out. That was a tough day. I can remember the day after. I can remember the day after getting up in the morning. There was silence in my house. It was very quiet the day after. And this is when we got off. And I was afraid to go outside. I was afraid to go out there. And then my mom and dad told me, look, you can't be afraid. You cannot be afraid of what happened yesterday. You have to go out and live your life. You have to move on with your life and continue to live your life. Not be afraid of anything. So that day, I made the decision to go outside and hang out with my friends. Honestly, I think I needed that. I think I needed to go out there and be with my friends after what happened the day before. And I can remember how I just remember going to see my friends. I went to my friend Tom's house around the corner from me. But no longer lives there anymore, but when he used to live there, I went over to his house. We were all hanging out in his backyard. And I could just see everyone was just sitting there quietly, just not really saying anything. Just shocked and bewildered on what happened the night before. And we're all talking, and my friends, they were angry about this whole thing. And what I don't condone is hate towards Arab Americans, hate towards Middle Eastern people. It doesn't solve anything. And the hate they got when this happened wasn't fair. We had people vandalizing mosques in Philadelphia, harassing innocent Arab Americans that had nothing to do with the attacks. I don't condone hate towards anybody. I believe that there are good people and bad people in every race, in every gender. So it's not right to stereotype. And the hate they got wasn't fair. It wasn't fair because of what some bad Middle Eastern people did. The innocent Middle Eastern people got blamed for that by proxy. And it wasn't right. It wasn't right. They didn't deserve that. They didn't deserve that hate. And I can remember my friends just being so mad at what they did and saying that they were going to get revenge and they do this. And to tell you the truth, revenge isn't always the best thing. Because revenge is not a good thing because you're just doing what they did. And anybody who doesn't like what I have to say, that's okay. But I know it was a tough day. It was a hard day for all of us. We can't go blaming one single race for something that happened, for something horrible that happened. They had nothing to do with it. It was Osama bin Laden. Very bad man. It had something to do with it because of his actions. A lot of innocent people in my country got blamed for what happened that day. And I know that a lot of people in my country were celebrating. But it's not right. It's not right to celebrate killing people. It's not right. It's wrong. If we did it, we would have been bad people too. So it's not right, okay? We shouldn't blame one single race. Something that happened. Something horrible that happened. Yes, it was horrible. And my heart goes out to the family members that have to relive this day every single day of their lives. They have to look back on this day and realize that they've lost a loved one. They either lost a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife. It's a hard day for everyone. Many lives were lost that day. This is one of the worst attacks since Pearl Harbor in 1941. And it was a tough day for everyone, but my heart goes out to the people that lost their loved ones on this horrible day of 9/11. My heart goes out to the many firefighters that risked their lives to save others. Many police officers that risked their lives to save others. I'd like to send my love to New York City. I know we have a sports rivalry that goes back decades. But we may argue about sports, but deep down inside, there is a respect for New York. And I want to send my love and respect to the city of New York. To the many people in Manhattan that had to go through that traumatic experience. I remember a couple of weeks later, there was a Flyers Rangers preseason game. The game started out with a fight, a couple of goals, and some scrums. But in the third period, the game was put on hold, and George W. Bush made his speech about what happened. George Bush addressed the nation on the Jumbotron at the First Union Center, which is now known as the Wells Fargo Center. And Flyers fans and Rangers fans, also Flyers, and Rangers players came together that day in solidarity, united as one. And that's when the game was put on hold for solidarity for a country and its people. Many lives were lost that day. Many loved ones lost a lot of people that were near and dear to their heart that day. I hope that someday this whole world will be at peace. No more wars, no more fighting. Let's all come together, United States and the world. Enough of this. Enough of this. Enough is enough. How many people have to die because of hatred? How many people have to lose their lives because of hate? That day, what happened on 9/11 was an act of hatred. An act of hatred. And I don't condone it. I don't condone it. I'm Timmy Flyersguy, and my heart goes out to the city of New York. My heart goes out to the many firefighters in New York that risked their lives. My heart goes out to the New York, my respect and love goes out to the New York firefighters, the New York Police Department, many paramedics and doctors that worked their asses off that day when this happened. I want to thank each and every one of them for everything they've done. And to all the people that fought overseas, I want to say thank you for your service. I salute you. Guys, thank you for joining me on this episode. And if any of you have any stories of where you were on 9/11 and how you felt that day, where you were on 9/11 and what you were doing, I'd like to welcome you to share your thoughts and your comments in the comment section below. Thank you for joining me here on this episode of the Timmy Flyersguy podcast. This episode will go up on Monday. This episode will be up on Wednesday. It'll be a special Wednesday edition of the Timmy Flyersguy podcast. And the video will go up around 8:46, the time that the first tower was hit. It'll be on my YouTube channel around 8:46, the time the first tower was hit on September 11th, 2001. Thank you and have a good day, everybody. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.